Well, remember I said that there was a computer I had to build for a friend's child? Well, that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna give you guys every opportunity to be like, that's too much for a kid. A kid doesn't need that much power. There's actually a little bit more to the story on this one, and we'll kind of get into that today as we build it. The Elite XG270QG from ViewSonic breaks the traditional ugly appearance of gaming monitors by providing an ultra-clean design while still delivering gamers the features that they want most. Features like a 1 millisecond response time, IPS 165Hz overclock display, black brushed aluminum stand with tilt and swivel, mouse and keyboard cable anchors, and customizable subtle lighting. To learn more about the XG270GQ from ViewSonic and to see current pricing, click the link in the description below. And just like a college course, this one has some prerequisites. I requisite that you go and watch the video about how we painted this case. This is an NZXT H1. They don't come in purple, and we did a very good, the best how-to, everyone agrees, on how to paint a case the right way and for cheap. So I highly recommend you go watch that. Another video I highly recommend you watch prior to this one is our video about the discussion on how much power a kid's computer really should have. And that will kind of lead you into why we went with the components we went with today. But since I know most of you aren't going to do that, and you're not going to listen, and you're not going to go and watch a video that explains and answers a lot of the questions you probably already have, I'll just kind of do a quick high-level version of it today. This is for a family friend's child, and just like anything else, there were some questions that I had as to, how to build this computer, and that being, does your kid have a computer already? Has your kid showed interest in computers? What's your current computer setup? Do they have one? What's yours? Talking to the parents. And so some of the information we're kind of going off here today is the kid has never had a computer. They've only had access to a family computer, which is like a 10-year-old Best Buy, like Dell Inspiron type of build that obviously is like an E-machine, basically. It's not gonna play games. It doesn't have a graphics card. But they are highly interested in computer gaming. So interested in that when they play games on their console, and it's a cross-platform game, meaning they play console and computer and Switch and all that together. Yeah, I'm talking about Fortnite. Basically, they talk a bunch of trash to the PC gamers going, "Oh, PC sucks," and it turns out they say that because they're jealous and they wish they had a computer. So they don't know that they've got one coming. It's for their birthday. By the time this video and all that's been seen, they will have already received it. Therefore, surprise not ruined. Now, I'm a little concerned. Well, what if they don't like the computer? Well, I'm okay with building a powerful one because, like I said, the parents, their computer is a really old, 10-year-old Inspiron style computer that you basically can't do anything on. In fact, I have a video coming up where my mom recently reached out to me and was like, "Hey, that HP computer your dad bought me like 10 years ago? Well, it's really slow. Is there anything you can do to make it faster?" And I was like, I will always take an opportunity to show people again and again and again how to make an old computer fast. We've done it a million times on this channel. We're going to continue to do it. But moving forward, here are the parts we chose because I look at it this way. In the worst case scenario, not the worst case being the H1, I really like the H1. But and we also have a video about this guy, you should go and watch it too. When it comes to this computer though, if for some reason the kid just loses interest, the parents can always take it back. Or if the kid just gets in trouble, the parents can take it back. Ow. Okay, that's strong paint, it didn't scratch. The parents can take it back and then just be like, "Oh, you got grounded, it's my computer now," and then the dad's playing Fortnite. Point of controversy number one. You can see it's a Z390 motherboard. We are going with a 9700K. But Jay, 10th gen's out. Now look, other things that I take into account when I build a computer for someone is not just how fast do you want it, how much money do you have. It's what's your computer knowledge? Can you deal with troubleshooting a computer on your own if something pops up? Now, fortunately, these people live very nearby. So if something goes wrong, I have no problem supporting this machine. I'm not sending it off to like Idaho or something where I can't physically have access to the computer again if something needs to be warrantied on it or whatever. The other thing being, they don't have a lot of like computer knowledge. They're not a power user. They're not going to have the ability to go in and like troubleshoot their BIOS and stuff like that. So I would much rather stick to a platform that is matured, and that being the 9th gen. Obviously, there's lots of BIOS updates. The BIOS have been worked out, full support for all memory, graphics cards, and all that sort of stuff. There's no weird bleeding edge, cutting edge adoption that's going to be happening by going 10th gen. 10th gen is still 14 nanometer. It's still the same overall platform, just Z490 with a slightly different socket now, and it would probably be stable. The other thing is I shopped for a 10600K. I have one. I don't want to give it up because we use it for our testing here. We have one 10900K and one 10600K. 10700Ks, still pretty expensive. 10900K, extremely overkill and way out of the budget. 10600s, nowhere near fast enough. It would have been better to go with AMD for that point. Which leads me into the next point. Why didn't you go with AMD? Well, to watch that, you need to watch our why are people switching to AMDs and why are people staying on Intel platform videos that we created. You know, it's almost like there's some thought to how we do videos around here, huh? I answer all the questions before you ask them, but you're still gonna ask them. Now, I didn't go with AMD for the same reason that I explained as to why I went with previous generation Intel, and that being the weirdness that we still to this day will experience randomly on AMD. Phil and I experience weirdness on our Threadripper systems occasionally. But all it takes is an occasional problem to creep up every now and then to really just make you frustrated. And it's not something I want to have them have to deal with, especially if it's in a kid's room. So had I been building this system for someone that's like, oh yeah, I'm plenty good with computers and I have no problem troubleshooting and all that, I want the best bang for the buck, I would have gone AMD all day long. But because of those reasons, it's a kid's computer, I want ultimate stability, I want to know that the hardware is available, which like I said, I couldn't even get the processor in 10th gen that I wanted at this price point. It just made sense to go with Intel 9th gen. It's kind of like, did the next model year car really make the previous model year suck? No, in fact, we all know you buy the first model year of a new generation, you're probably gonna get a bunch of bugs and recalls and crap with it. Ask me how I know. Anyway, moving on, it's time to build it after I tell you about the rest of it. We're going with 16 gigabytes of G.Skill Trident ZRGB. Again, the kids' favorite color is purple. I think they like rainbow stuff, so RGB is perfect in this particular instance. The graphics card is a GeForce RTX 2070 Super. I kind of stepped up all of the parts, by the way, on this. They had a budget. I basically took that budget and added like another 50% to it from our own abilities of upgrading them. So I basically took every part that they could have afforded and then stepped it up one notch, probably with the exception of the CPU. I mean, we could have got, Phil and I went back and forth on this quite a bit. So we felt the 9700K 8-core non-hyper threading overclocked to 5 gigs, which would be perfectly fine all day long without any sort of crashes, would be better for a gaming machine paired with a 2070 Super than going the 9900K and potentially even a cheaper graphics card. For storage, we got a 2 terabyte SX8200 Pro from ADATA. I'm a huge fan of ADATA's drives. There's a lot of drives out there when it comes to M.2. I've had nothing but positive experiences with the XPG line. And because it's not AMD, I didn't have to worry about going with the PCIe Gen 4. This is a Gen 3. It's a 2 terabyte NVMe drive that I got for $250. I think that is a very good price to performance ratio in terms of storage capacity, speed, and I mean, 2 terabyte drive just a year ago would have cost you over $1,000. So you can see price has definitely come down on that. Motherboard, I already said, it's a Z390-i gaming, and I'm gonna do a video about why we use AMD Asus motherboards. People ask us a million times, why are we such Asus fanboys? There's some reasons for that. There's some frustrating reasons that we have to deal with. There's some frustrating things we have to deal with by sticking with Asus, but at the same time, there's a huge benefit to it, and I think we'll do another video on that. It's not, I mean, shoot, they don't really sponsor us that much, if you want to know the truth. They don't send money and do sponsor builds and all that sort of stuff. We just really do enjoy their product. Brings us to our chassis now, the NZXT H1. Because I don't know how much space they have, I didn't want to go with a big chassis, and I really spent some time searching on this one. I knew I wanted to go with an ITX. I initially looked at micro ATX. It's funny, we live in this period right now where micro ATX is kind of forgotten when it comes to the higher end tiers. You can find plenty of micro ATX in AMD, and you can find plenty of them in the B series motherboards, B450, heck, even the B550s, we were sent one. But when it comes to the Z series on Intel, there's not that many micro ATX boards. We were extremely limited. There are, but it's just like you'll have like one from each manufacturer. But when it comes to ITX motherboards and ATX motherboards, there's all kinds of options. So I wanted them to be able to have as much space on their desk as possible. And I think that this is the perfect type of chassis to walk into a kid's room, and obviously this one's painted purple. Funny, I think NZXT should make a purple one, right? It looks like it belongs like something that they would have made because of their company colors, but whatever, I digress. We did a video on this. We talked about the pre-built that NZXT has, and the cooling on this actually surprised us, considering it's got a single fan. And it's not a convection-assisted style system like we have with the Corsair One. It does a really good job at cooling. And because we have a 9700K and a 2070 Super, they're not very hot parts. So that means that I have no issues with cooling this. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna transition into build montage. You guys haven't seen a Phil build montage in quite a while with some of his stick-ass transitions, bro. So I've been stress testing it now for a little while, kind of getting some of the fan curves situated, and I know it looks creepy, but I love the smell of hot electronics. I don't know what it is. Like, it's just that smell. Come on, I can't be the old one out there. Anyway, we're doing GPU stress testing right now. It's been sitting here in heaven running for a while. I don't even know how long, a while, but we're maxed out at 72 degrees Celsius on the cooler. I did go in there and adjust the fan curve a bit. So I installed MSI Afterburner, set the fan curve stuff how I want it. It's stock clock, so I'm not overclocking this card. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save it so that it automatically loads with Windows, and then I'm just gonna close the app and not let it auto start. That way I don't have to worry about it being there. In Cinebench, I wasn't worried whatsoever about the CPU temperatures. I don't know if you guys saw, I switched out the fan. I wanted an RGB fan in there, although you can't really tell. You can sort of see the RGB in there. I wanted to add the RGB. I know that a kid would absolutely love the effects of being able to play with the lights and stuff. But the temperatures are doing just fine on the CPU. Running Cinebench back to back to back to back. We were sitting in like the high 50s, low 60s at the most, with core enhancement enabled and Intel limitations removed in the Asus BIOS. We also did a video about that. This should be called the video Jay talks about all the videos he's ever made video. But yeah, we talked about what happens when you remove those limits and such. So she is getting the benefit of XMP profile memory. She's getting the benefit of higher core clocks. It's gonna be syncing the clock across all cores, even under max load. So it's not gonna drop turbo clock. It's gonna stay at, 4.7 gigahertz across the board. I might play around with maybe the idea of overclocking it, but ultimately, stability is the #1 goal for this build, and I think it's clearly been achieved. We talked about the cooling capabilities of this chassis already in the past. It does a phenomenal job considering it's one fan bringing in air this way. It's funny, this side of the case is so cool because the cold air is like hitting it as it's being sucked in, but then like the rear and the side where the GPUs are is just like, oh man, that's toasty. It'd be great in the summer, and not the summertime, the winter time. But no, the temperatures on this are perfectly fine. Like again, 72 degrees Celsius. We wouldn't even start throttling for another 15 degrees or so. But yeah, that's it. All the updates are done. All the drivers are installed, and it's ready to go to its new home. And I usually like to show people receiving their computers, especially when it's a gift or something like that. But because it's involving a kid, we're not going to be filming, obviously, for reasons that should be obvious. And if they're not, well, I don't know what to tell you. Not filming a kid. That's not mine on this channel. That's just weird. Hey kid, you want to be in a video?
Want a computer?
Hey, you want a free candy-colored computer?
A white man that just says free PC parts.
Do you know how many adult males would go running after the free PC part van?
Get kidnapped, yeah.
you mean how much man napping would happen?
Man napping?
Anyway, guys, we just want to take you along for the ride. I told you I'd be building this build and the ideology behind it. It's funny though, it's going to lead to another build for a preteen or a tweenager. It's what they're, I guess, referred to now, tweenagers. Little J has been gaming on a laptop for about the last year and a half because she had this idea that she wanted to be able to have a little laptop and carry it around and be super cool, and she didn't want a desktop no more. I have a feeling once she sees this that her friend has, I think jealousy is going to set in, which is going to follow her the rest of her life, because you know as well as I do, as a PC enthusiast, when you see someone with a better PC than you, PC envy is real. PC envy. But you know what though, because she's already built a computer when she was 5, and then she built one again when she was 7, and then she built one again when she was 9, I think it's time to level up her building capabilities, and we have her do her first water-cooled build. So we'll see how well an 11-year-old can build a water-cooled PC with the help of her idiot father. All right guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this build or anything else that we do around here, feel free to put it down in the comments below, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.